Welcome back, my friends. We're still in holiday mode, and I sincerely pray that you and your family are enjoying togetherness, peace, love, and joy. We left off with Madison sitting beside Bo in church. Are you curious to hear what happens next? Me too, so let's get on with it. Pastor Thomas Hall delivered a compelling sermon that made Madison feel excited and encouraged. She could tell that all three men were captivated by what they were hearing. She could also tell that worshiping wasn't new to them. They participated in the call and response and stood up once or twice during the sermon. It was reassuring, she thought, and somewhere subconsciously, a box was checked. After service, Brittany took the initiative to introduce their guests to the pastor. Pastor Hall, I'd like to introduce friends of ours. This is Mr. Beauregard Jackson, his nephew Maurice, and Dylan Cartwright. Pastor Hall shook hands with them and smiled. Welcome, I hope you enjoyed the service. We did, Pastor. There's a good chance that we may come back, Bo stated, and Maurice nodded eagerly in agreement. That's great. Have a wonderful afternoon and God bless, the pastor replied. Outside in the parking lot, their patience was tested as they waited for people to move their cars. However, once they got to their cars, Madison realized that Morris intended for Brittany to ride with him back to the house. The car was too small for the three of them, and that left Bo without a ride. Amber and Dylan got into her car and pulled away. Madison was left with no choice but to offer Bo a seat in her car. I guess you're riding with me, she said resignedly. With a big dimpled smile, Bo nodded at her. I assure you that I didn't plan this, but I must say, madam, I am quite pleased. He quickly went around to help her into the driver's seat and then rushed back to the passenger side to get in. They followed a convoy back to her house, and Madison tried not to make it an unpleasant event. Bo made conversation by commenting on the sermon and what he thought of her church. How long have you been attending this church? He asked. Ever since we moved out here. The drive back and forth to Brooklyn was a bit much. I meant what I said to the pastor. We've been looking for a home church much like the one we left back in Texas, and this one is similar. Madison gave him a quick smile and didn't comment. She was back to feeling nervous again. She suspected that her daughters planned for him to ride with her. It was too coincidental. Having Bo sitting beside her was too close, and recalled their almost tryst. She wondered how a man who was so enthusiastically worshiping in church with her could want to sleep with a woman he'd known less than a day. Was that even Christian? At the house, Madison parked her car in the garage while the others parked in the large driveway. Inside, the girls took over hosting duties, ushering them into the living room, and Madison went up to her room to change. She came back to find them sitting in the assorted seats, avidly discussing some topic and laughing. Amber got up quickly to join her mother in the kitchen. So, who is this young man you've introduced to me? Dylan and I met a few weeks ago. I've been seeing him and I wanted you two to meet. I know it's kind of awkward after Daniel, but he's different and we are developing something nice. Madison eyed her daughter and nodded. Amber, you're old enough to make your own choices, so I can't say who you see or not. I just want you to be careful, she said sagely. Oh, you don't have to worry about that. He comes from a good family and he's God-fearing too. We are taking this slow. What does he do? He's the owner of the supply company we use for our salons, Amber replied. Madison nodded. Okay, let's get this brunch over with. The food was delicious, and the men ate generous portions. Afterwards, Brittany helped clear the table. Amber led their guests back to the living room. Someone turned on the game, and the men were debating and arguing good-naturedly about the players. They were stunned to find out that Amber used to date Daniel Spivey, especially Dylan. What's he like? Asked Dylan. He's extremely outgoing. It was one of the things about him that broke us up. He liked to party, admitted Amber. There was an awkward silence until Bo pointed out that young ball players were encouraged to enjoy the spotlight and such. I like to go out too, but some of those parties were too much for me. I couldn't get with it, Amber explained. Madison watched Dylan as Amber spoke. She could tell that he had more questions, but was wise enough to wait for a more opportune time. Bo changed the subject and winked at her when their eyes met. She looked away and stood up to offer them dessert. Brittany helped her distribute cake and drinks. The men continued to comment on the game, and Madison leaned back in her seat, content to listen. Amber got up to leave after the game, and Dylan stood up too. Beau and his nephew stood up as well. Ms. Blake, I enjoyed the service at church, the wonderful food and good company. Thank you for having us, Maurice said. Brittany was all smiles as she walked him to the front door. Beau hung back eyeing Madison. She could tell that he wanted to say something, but she wasn't going to give him an opening. Beau gave up and smiled instead. Ms. Blake, it was a pleasure. I'll stop by your office in the morning with your tower. Since you didn't want to purchase a new one, it took me a while to get the right boards compatible with the new software. Thank you, Madison said. At the door, she waved and walked away, leaving Brittany to lock the door. Brittany met her in the kitchen, and together set it to rights. They parted at the top of the stairs, each to their own rooms. Mondays were slow days with fewer appointments. Those are the days Madison usually held staff meetings. All lead beauticians, masseurs, and nail technicians gathered in the staff break room. While sipping on coffee, tea, and eating bagels and donuts, they discussed new equipment, client complaints, and their needs. After the meeting broke up, Madison was ready for lunch. She had skipped breakfast and she was famished. After approving last-minute supplies delivered to the new salon, Amber contacted the new beauticians they'd hired about orientation and start dates. Both women got salads and rushed back. Madison had just tucked into her salad when there was a knock on her office door. She looked up to watch Beau enter with her computer tower in his arms. Becca said I could come in, he explained. I see you're having your lunch. I won't stay long. The cords are at your house, and I'm sure you can figure where they fit. Madison continued to watch him. He lowered the tower onto the floor beside her desk and nodded to her on his way out. Madison shrugged and continued to eat. Perhaps now he would take the hint and leave her alone, she thought. The grand opening for the new salon was a great success. All day, they offered discounts on services and signed up new clients. Madison and her staff offered finger foods and drinks. Convenience and ultra-customer service was some of the things the salons had going for them, and women who appreciated that were loyal. By the end of the day, Madison watched as the housekeeping service she hired for the event clean up. Her staff were happy, and they had registered over 20 new patrons for services in the coming week. Mom, are you ready to head out yet? Amber asked at the office door. Madison was rummaging through one of the drawers. She looked up at her daughter. Beau was standing beside her. Evening, Ms. Blake. I wanted to stop by to congratulate you on your grand opening, he said. He smiled genuinely at her, deepening his dimples. Madison got up and came around to meet him. She returned his smile and realized that she was glad to see him. Thank you. You've come too late. It's all over now. I was busy most of the day, but I wanted to stop by to say hello and to wish you good luck, Beau replied. Looks great, he said, looking around. Mom, Dylan, Maurice, and Brittany are waiting on me. Gotta run. Amber waved and left Beau standing in the middle of the room. Madison, will you come out with me tonight? Beau asked. That depends on where you want to take me, she answered. Beau was so surprised that he didn't know what to say. She had turned him down so many times that he was ready to admit defeat. Just let me get my purse, she continued. She let the few remaining staff know that she was leaving and asked that they lock up. She waved goodnight and followed Beau out into the warm night. Did you drive, Madison? Beau asked as he guided her to his car. No, I came with Brittany. I'm starting to think they do this on purpose, said Madison. I don't follow, Beau said. It seems that every time you show up, the girls leave me with you. Beau chuckled. I don't mind. Beau helped her into his Escalade, and they were off. For a slight moment, Madison was afraid that he was going to drive her to his apartment building, but when he drove past it, she let out a small breath. Beau pretended not to notice and kept his eyes on the traffic. He took her to the Flatiron Room on the east side. She was impressed and surprised that he had a reservation. Briefly, she wondered if he would have kept the reservation if she'd turned him down. Ever the gentleman, Beau pulled her seat out for her. He sat opposite her, wearing that dimpled smile of his. I'm glad you came out with me tonight, Madison. I'm glad too. They ordered quickly when the waiter came. So you've got 3 establishments, Beau said, breaking the silence between them. She smiled brilliantly at him. It was the right thing to say. Yes, it was something I'd planned a long time ago. When I retire, Amber will take over the Fifth Avenue store while Brittany will head this one. That's smart. Your girls have a bright future ahead of them, and a legacy they can pass on to their own families someday. That's the idea. Madison lowered her gaze. Who are you leaving your legacy to? Aren't most of your family members in the restaurant business? Their waiter arrived with a basket of bread and a bottle of wine. Beau allowed him to pour for them. He picked up his glass to toast Madison. To your continued success. Madison touched her glass to his and took a small sip. She watched Beau take a healthy gulp of his. The food was delicious, and she ate almost all of it. She refused dessert when Beau asked. I've indulged all night. Dessert would take me over and I'd have to exercise double in the morning. Beau quickly paid the bill and ushered her back to his car. Madison was friendly, but he could sense the walls she still had up. Yet thoughts of their shared kisses have been driving him crazy. You didn't answer my question, Beau. Who will inherit your legacy? Beau glanced briefly at her before directing his eyes to the road. Technology was my second love, and when I made the move to pursue it fully, my family weren't too thrilled. It was the reason I moved to New York. I suppose that further down the line, I'll get myself a partner. Were you a chef too? Yes, and my brother took over my restaurant. You're brave to risk everything like that. I would have second-guessed myself the whole time. Don't get me wrong, I had many doubts. What I developed was innovative, and there were days when I wanted to give up. I had so many setbacks that going back to being a chef made sense. When I finally had a breakthrough, there was no going back. My software worked, and the businesses I introduced it to were impressed. Congratulations! How long did you work on it? 4 long and grueling years. My friends who started out with me gave up, but I kept at it. It took another 2 years to get it patented. That was a year and a half ago. Now it's official. Madison could tell that he was proud, as he should be. She understood exactly what he felt. They drove in silence for a while, and Beau reached over to clasp her hand. When can I see you again? He asked. Madison didn't pull away, but she felt uncomfortable. I don't think it's a good idea. Why? I think we could be good together. A relationship isn't in my plans, Beau. I'm sorry. Beau released her hand slowly. She could see the set of his jaw and how tightly he was holding the steering wheel. I'm sorry too, he replied. Beau was giving her what she thought she wanted, but now it felt hollow. It had been a month since their encounter, and she thought she had put it behind her. Now that Beau had acquiesced and was giving her space, found that she didn't want it. Beau pulled into her driveway and got out. Madison had hurriedly opened the door and jumped out before he could reach her. In the moonlight, she could see his features. He didn't look happy. Thank you for dinner and driving me home, she murmured. Good night, Madison. Beau walked back to the driver's side, got in and drove off, leaving her standing there in the dark. She drew in a ragged breath and went inside. Brittany wasn't home yet, and for once she was grateful. Her heart felt heavy, and she didn't know how to soothe it. It was in the shower that the tears came. She couldn't understand why she felt hurt so badly. She and Beau weren't a couple, and those few hours they shared together was all there was, and yet she felt a hole in her heart. Well, that's it for now. Tell me in your comments what you think of the story so far. Should Madison give in and live a little or keep her promise to her dead husband? Truly, I want to know. And while you are giving me your opinion, like, share, and subscribe.